Well, hello, friends. I hope you're having a great day today. I hope by faith you're believing that God's going to do great things all day long in your life. Hey, this is the day the Lord's made. We ought to just go ahead and rejoice and be glad for everything that God's doing. Welcome to Tuesday's edition of Take 5. Well, this week we're talking about the life of Joseph, and we're dealing with the subject, the pit, the prison, and the palace. And I hope by now you've taken time to maybe do a little homework and read from Genesis chapter 37 through Genesis chapter 50. If you hadn't, I would encourage you to do that this week. Man, there's some awesome reading, some awesome things happen there. There's some great lessons to be learned. I mean, Joseph is a great, great guy for us to model our lives after. Now, the thesis that everything that we talk about is pointing back to one thing, and that's simply this. Our perseverance and our performance in the pit and in the prison validates our place in the palace. Simply stated, that's this: how we live, endure, how we learn, how we grow, how we go through the pit and the prison determines how we serve in the palace. It'll determine when we'll get to the palace, and it can also determine if we ever get to the palace. That's just according to how we persevere and perform in the pit and in the prison. I talked to you yesterday. I kind of told you the whole story in a nutshell, so I want to begin to break some individual things down that Joseph had to endure that you and I will absolutely have to endure as well. Now, we know Joseph was a dreamer. His brothers called him a dreamer, and rightly so, because God gave him two dreams that pointed to his future and to his destiny. And not only was he a dreamer, but he was an interpreter of dreams as well. And so I want us to understand that when we talk about dreams this week, that can be anything from promises and hopes, dreams, words that you have from God that pertain to something that God is going to do in your life in the future. It can be any of those things. It can refer to relationships. It can refer to occupation. It can refer to finance. It can refer to ministry. It can refer to healing, anything. If God has given you a dream, a hope, a promise, a plan, a word, if God's given you that, then you've got to endure the pit and the prison in order to get to the palace. But along the way, you're going to deal with some things that I call dream killers. And that's really what I want to talk about today. Beware the dream killers. These are the people and the things that the devil wants to use to separate you from your dream. Now, they'll come in all shapes and fashions and forms, but I'll tell you the three forms that Joseph had to deal with, and that was haters, liars, and forgetters. And you'll look, and when you see them in the life of Joseph, you can turn around and sometimes you can see those same situations in your own life as well. Let me tell you about the haters. That was his brothers. That was his own family. When Joseph had these dreams and he told them to his brothers, they hated him for it. They despised him because in his dreams he was actually pictured as being their leader, as being over them. They were going to have to submit to his leadership. They didn't know at first. They thought that this was just some kind of arrogant thing, but they didn't know that it was going to be to their good in the long run that Joseph be that guy. But they hated him for what God wanted to do in his life. Let me tell you something. I don't care who says what. When you've got a promise from God, when you've got a word from God, you hold on to that thing and you don't let anybody take it away. It doesn't matter how bad they hate you, how bad they talk about you. They can call you arrogant or anything else. It doesn't matter. You hold on to that thing and don't let them kill your dream. Then Joseph had to deal with liars. When he ended up a slave in Egypt, he finally was working there in Potiphar's house and gained favor. Potiphar, the captain of the guard of Pharaoh, saw something in Joseph that he liked, and he put Joseph in charge of his whole house. Joseph ran everything in that man's house. As a matter of fact, the Bible said that the only decision that Potiphar kept for himself was when and how he ate his food. That's all he kept for himself. Joseph did everything. Well, it wasn't very long because Joseph was such a robust and handsome young man. It wasn't very long that Potiphar's wife began to turn her eye toward him, and she began to make sexual advances toward Joseph, and he kept denying her and kept denying her and kept denying her. And the Bible said she kept doing it day after day after day until finally one day there was nobody in the house, and she ran in and she grabbed him by his outer garment and said, "Joseph, come and lie with me. You just got to do it right now." And he spun out of his coat and run out of the building. Well, when he done that, she saw her opportunity and she cried rape, and told her husband that Joseph had come in and had tried to make a laughing stock of her, and Potiphar threw him in the prison. Now, Joseph is finding himself having to hold on to his dream when people are lying on him. It's bad enough that his own brothers and family have hated him for his dream. Now people are lying on him about his dream, and now he's having to hold on to that in spite of the haters and in spite of the liars. But there was one more person, and that was the forgetters. While Joseph was in prison there, he befriended two men that Pharaoh had thrown in jail there. The cupbearer to Pharaoh and Pharaoh's chief baker were thrown into prison there, and he befriended them because he had interpreted some dreams for both of those guys, and they absolutely came to pass. Joseph said to the cupbearer, though, "When you get out of prison, don't forget about me. Put in a good word for me. I don't want to have to stay here. I've been wrongly convicted and I don't want to be here." The cupbearer absolutely forgot about Joseph, and 2 years later, he finally remembered him. You know, when people get what they want or their need out of you, sometimes they forget about the one that made it possible. And Joseph has endured all this now. All of these things trying to steal his dream. Haters and liars and forgetters. And he has to hold on to his dream every step of the way. Well, finally, 13 years into this, that dream begins to become a reality, and he finds himself standing before Pharaoh, and after interpreting two dreams for Pharaoh, Pharaoh puts him in charge of the whole land and makes him prime minister in all of the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh puts a signet ring on his hand, puts a royal robe on him, and puts a gold chain around his neck. Joseph made it to the palace because he did not let the haters, the liars, the forgetters, and everything else that you can name in between, he did not let those things kill his dream. He held on to it every step of the way. Now, you may not be dealing with haters, liars, and forgetters. It may be something else that you can name in there that's trying to kill your dream. But nonetheless, as Joseph held on to his dream and kept it alive and saw it become a reality, you and I have got to do the same thing. Friend, if God said it, then He will absolutely do it. We've just got to keep the dream alive until it becomes a reality. Well, hey, I got to get out of here. It's been great being with you today. I look forward to being with you tomorrow on Wednesday's edition of Take 5. Until then, God bless you. Have a great day. Hold on to your dream, my friend. God will absolutely do what He said He'll do.